Paul George of the Los Angeles Clippers has agreed to a new 4-year, $190 million extension to remain in Los Angeles for the long term. So just for clarity, Paul George technically had 2 years left on his deal in LA, but the second year of it was a player option. Paul George is going to get rid of that second year of that deal, add 4 more years, which will make his contract in totality around 5 years, $225 million. So he'll play this last year out for about $35 million, and then that 4 years, $190 will kick in. Again, the player option for the next year is voided. There is a player option on the last year of this new extension that Paul George has signed in Los Angeles. And man, again, it's another one of these extensions that I did not see coming. I'll get to that more at the end of the video, how some of these players have shocked me with their long-term commitments to their franchises. But look, Paul George came out the other day and said, I want to be in Los Angeles. I want to retire a Clipper. We've seen a lot of quotes from PG over the last few days. He said he wants to win a championship here. He's committed here. Damian Lillard of the Portland Trail Blazers called cap on it. And look at Paul George a couple days later actually showing the commitment by signing an extension in Los Angeles. And for the Clippers, this is what they needed. Remember, to get Paul George and Kawhi Leonard in Los Angeles in totality, it took 5 first-round picks and 2 pick swaps to pull this trade off. They've given up pretty much all of their farm system to make sure they got these 2-star forwards for the future. So they got to make it work. Not to mention the owner of the team, Steve Ballmer, is building a new arena in Inglewood that's set to be ready by 2024, 2025. So they need stars when you're going into a new building. When you're leaving Staples Center with the legacy and the history of that building, you're leaving the building that the Lakers play in, and you're still in California, in Inglewood, you're going to need to be relevant. You're going to need some attraction. And one half of their big two is now committed and signed for the future. Again, for those who are going to ask, will Kawhi Leonard sign a deal before the season starts like we've seen other guys do? No. You have to be in the league for 10 years to even be eligible for this extension that Paul George has signed. So you will not see a Kawhi Leonard deal right now. The earliest that he could get one done will be after the season. And at that point, he could sign a max extension to stay in Los Angeles. Kawhi Leonard is a very cerebral dude, though, so I'm sure he doesn't mind waiting to play this bad boy out to see what his Clippers team is able to do, the chemistry that's built or not built, the adjustments made to the roster, all that great stuff. I got to tell you all this. You know, Paul George has said some questionable things at best over the last couple years, but I got to give my hat to that guy and my respect to him for signing this extension. He didn't have to do this. Now, Paul George has had a moderate injury history. We obviously remember the freak injury in Indiana many years ago with his ankle, and then he had the shoulder injury in OKC. He's had some lingering issues with his knee as well throughout his career, and last year he fought to get healthy. He just didn't seem right at the end. He said there was no injuries, but for me personally, he didn't seem right at the end of that Denver series. You know, shooting shots, hitting the side of the backboard, all that stuff. But again, you know, for Paul George, he didn't want to take the LeBron James approach that I thought more guys would be doing. You know, I thought more guys at this point with NBA money just flowing in, I thought more guys would be signing 2-year deals with a 1-year player option, or a 1-and-1, which is a 1-year deal with a player option on the second year. I thought guys over the next few years would be taking more chances and just seeing, you know, how much money can I make, and I want to control where I play. Maybe I don't like this situation. I don't have to stay here 4 or 5 years and wait till my contract's over. I just thought we were in a new day and age in the NBA, which was pretty much created by LeBron James and his approach, and then Kevin Durant followed behind him. And then another thing, speaking of KD, I thought KD proved to a lot of guys that even an injured player will get a max extension or a max contract, right? Like, think about it. The Warriors were they were willing to offer Kevin Durant super max money, even though he had just tore his Achilles. The Brooklyn Nets gave Kevin Durant the most that they could give him, right? And again, Kevin Durant had a torn Achilles. So to me, that was telling. Obviously, Kevin Durant's one of the 3-4 best players in the world. But to me, Paul George ain't too far from it. To me, that was telling, like, yo, you're such a phenomenal, rare talent. We'll sign you injured. And I thought guys like Paul George and Anthony Davis were going to be more inclined in the future to just take some risk and just see where they could go. Like maybe, okay, in a year from now, I want to go play with Jimmy Butler in Miami. They seem to be one piece away. I want to go here and play with the Knicks. They seem to be a couple pieces away. I want to go team up with this guy and that guy. I was wrong. Anthony Davis and Paul George specifically, they're looking around thinking, you know what? Life is good here. I'm a second option right now. Both of those gentlemen, look, I like my situation. I love my situation. I'd rather figure it out in LA than to go somewhere else and chase titles. I want to do it here in Los Angeles. I love being in LA. It's probably where most of these gentlemen, other business ventures are at. And they chose long-term commitment, and you can't be mad at someone for wanting stability. Now, obviously, the Clippers could trade Paul George at any point, and if they don't win a championship, let's be clear, PG, he'll probably be on that market if Kawhi wants him to be, right? So let's be clear. Paul George signing this deal gives away a little bit of his leverage, but I'm comfortable with saying Paul George seems like a guy who he seems like he's going to be a Clipper lifer. I don't see Steve Ballmer giving up on a guy that showed this sign of commitment. It is a sign of commitment to the Clippers, who gave up a lot to get him and Kawhi there. It is, yo, I want to show you guys my thanks and my gratitude for taking a chance on me and getting me to as close to home as possible. So y'all let me know what y'all think about this one in the comment box below. Again, Paul George agrees to a 4-year, $190 million max extension. Add that to his 1 year that he's got left on his deal this season. 5 years, $225 to $26 million is what Paul George will be making in Los Angeles over the foreseeable future. Congratulations to him. Clippers, y'all got one half of y'all dynamic duo signed for the foreseeable future. I'm out.